In this video, we're going to be building a roster all around 3 big hitters for one of our community members. Hey guys, Rich from Richmond Gaming. I hope everyone is doing fantastic. Well, welcome to this another Marvel Crisis Protocol video, and this one is a little bit different. To give you some context and some backstory to this video, as you guys know, I'm working with UKTC at the moment, alongside Asmodee and AMG themselves, and we're running a series of GTs for both Marvel Crisis Protocol and Shatterpoint as well. I am now helping out with the Shatterpoint ones, and Zac, who runs UKTC, has been looking at getting into MCP and reached out to me last week and asked if I could help him build a roster. And he had some not necessarily specific requests, but he wanted to enjoy the game, obviously, and he didn't want to have a roster that was just flavourful and didn't have the chance of being able to win any games. But also, he was really focused around 3 particular characters, and we'll get into those in a second as to who they are. So he asked me if I would build him a roster. Any character in the game, no characters were off the board. So I started to take a think of it, and I was like, well, hang on, if I'm going to do this, well, that's a pretty good idea for a video. So hence we are here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through and build this roster for Zac. I've got a couple of different ideas and a couple of variations I think that we can go through. Some of it I've pre-scripted, some of it I'm going to be doing with you guys here on the fly, and again applying those processes that we spoke about in earlier videos. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump in and let's share with you the characters that Zac asked me about. So on his little text to me, he said he wanted to play Rhino, Juggernaut, and the Hulk. 3 big base characters. We've got a 4, a 5, and a 6 threat there. All characters who we see a lot in the game. They're played quite a bit, but unfortunately for us, when we look at the affiliations that they are part of, so if we look at Rhino, he's obviously going to be Spider Foes and Crimson. Hulk is going to be the Defenders and Avengers, and then Juggernaut is going to be just in the Brotherhood of Mutant. So we didn't have, or I didn't have, a kind of obvious place to go. You know, if 2 of these characters had been part of the same affiliation, then that would have been much easier to build around. So I sort of took it back to basics and said, okay, well, let's look at each of these affiliations leaders and see if there's any leaders that I think are going to sort of work in and work into the play style that we want, which is more of an aggressive play style, but also allow us to accommodate for these 3 characters. So let's start off and let's take a look at Spider Foes. So the 2 leaders for the Spider Foes at the moment, as we know, are going to be the Green Goblin and the new Doc Ock Sinister Scientist. Now, whilst I think from a leadership perspective, these guys have got a good leadership, you know, they're fairly attrition based. However, one area where I think they are lacking, or in fact 2 areas where I think they are lacking. First of all, the actual Spider Foes not having access to a 2-cost in affiliation model is going to make it very difficult to fit all of these big hitters in there. And the fact that both of these leaders are 4 threat, again, that restricts what we can do when we're list building and we've got characters that we want to include in there. So I don't think Spider Foes are going to be the one for us. Let's take a look then at the second affiliation that we've got, which is going to be Criminal Syndicate. Now, lots more leaders to choose from here. We've got 4 leaders in total. We've got Kingpin, MODOK, Shadowland Daredevil, and Claw. Now, Claw is already a 5 threat. and he wants to bring other types of characters with him. I've been playing a lot of Claw at the moment, so again, I don't think he's really worth looking at. Kingpin, whilst again, I think he could be a good option. He does have a leadership that sort of plays more into the control side of the game with the secures, and that kind of wasn't what Zac was looking for. We've got Murdoch Scientist Supreme. Now he is going to give us dice manipulation, which is quite interesting. It means that we can really get additional damage off from these guys, but again, he is a 4 threat. And then lastly, Shadowlands Daredevil, another character I've been playing quite a lot with, and again, he's going to give us access to those rerolls. But again, they're all for, you know, Murdoch and Shadowlands Daredevil are both 4 threats, and we need to be in a position where we can bring a couple of big hitters with us every single turn. And yes, we've got a 2 threat in the form of Bullseye, which does help in Criminal Syndicate, but I just don't think that's it. I just don't think this is going to click well enough. So let's take a look then at the defenders. We've got the other Daredevil, who again is going to give us access to lots of rerolls, which, you know, is really, really nice. We've got Wong in there as a 2 cost, which again is really good. And then we've got Doctor Strange, who, whilst I think is okay as a leader at the moment, I really like his leadership. He's also a 5 threat, and that's going to make it very, very difficult to take these other big hitting characters with us. Now we have to remember that for defenders, the one benefit we are in is that the biggest character in here, so the 6 threat character being Hulk, is actually the one that is part of this affiliation. So that's maybe something that we can take a little look at. And then let's round it out with Hulk's other affiliation, the Avengers. So we've got Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America, Sam Wilson, Captain America, First Avenger, Steve Rogers, and then Hulkbuster. And again, there's a couple of characters in here, 3 characters who, you know, can do a really, really nice job. Captain America First Avenger, his Earth Mightiest Heroes is really going to help some of those characters being able to maximize their damage output. Captain America Steve Rogers, reducing the cost of all those superpowers. They all bring, you know, multiple superpowers with them, so that could be quite nice as well. Hulkbuster, again, his 6th threat is going to make it very, very difficult. But then we do also have Captain America Sam Wilson, and whilst he is a 3 threat, he is a really good leader. We all know the term Sam spam. Sam really wants to be playing much wider, and, you know, taking 3 big characters like that just isn't really going to allow us to do it. So then rounding it out, we have got Juggernaut's affiliation. So we have got the Brotherhood of Mutants, and only 2 options for these, Magneto and Mystique. But whilst I'm going to disregard Magneto, Mystique is very interesting because, yes, her leadership is all around extract play and secure play, but what it's doing is reducing the cost of that. Now, as I mentioned, these guys have all got big superpowers and big spenders that they want to be using, with the exception of Rhino. He doesn't have a superpower, sorry, have a big spender, but you know, for Juggernaut and for Hulk, we want to be using that power for all the things they want to do. There's also some really nice synergy between Mystique and then the other things that these guys can do outside of their activation as well. And using Shapeshifter, using Shapeshifter, meaning that if it's Mystique's turn and Juggernaut wants to use I Am the Juggernaut or whatever it is he's called, where he picks it up and throws something, I think this could work really well. And she's a 3 threat. And it also means that because of that interact secure objective token, we can leave a back point kind of unguarded, and these 3 guys can move forward and do what Zac wants to do with them and have some good old comic book fun and start to beat people up. So I think for this first one, what we're going to do is really centre it around the Brotherhood of Mutants. So we've obviously got Mystique and Juggernaut, who are already part of the affiliation, and Hulk and Rhino are going to work quite well in there as well. So with all that said and done, let's jump over to Cerebro. That's the pre-done part of it. Anything from here on in is me just going to be looking through and taking a look and seeing at what we can do. So here we go, guys. We've got our big hitting Brotherhood, and as you can see, we've already got our first 4 characters in there. So let's go in then and let's take a look at what other characters we want to bring. And again, let me just show you this again. One of the reasons I really like Cerebro are the filters that we can apply in there. So let's just add more characters, and I'm going to drop down here. I'm going to go to Affiliations, and I'm going to go into Brotherhood. And you can see we've got lots of characters available for us. Now, obviously, Magneto, we know that we're not going to be looking at, but the first character I want to add in here is going to be Toad. Whilst he is a bit more of an extract type play character, he does also dish out Incinerate as well, which can be really nice. So he's going to work really, really well for us in there. Who else are we looking at, and who else do we want? Now, Blob is on a big base, and Blob actually does do some good damage. He's got good synergy with Toad. So I actually think we're going to go with Blob in there as well, because we do want a couple of 3 threats for us to be able to do this. They've got terrain feature throws as well. And yeah, I actually think Blob could be a good shout for us. So let's get Blob in there. So we're up to 6 characters now. Another character who I want to take a look at is going to be Pyro. Now, why Pyro? Well, if we're playing into the attrition side of the game, look at all of the incinerates that Pyro can dish out. So Fire Blast and Flame Jet. He's also got Firewall, so he can dish out Root and Slow for 2 power, which is really good. And he's got Fire Manipulation in there as well, so he can move that Incinerate around. So I think Pyro is going to be a really, really good option for us. That's putting us on 7. Are there any other Brotherhood of Mutant characters who we want to include in here? Now, the other thing, guys, that we can look at is an Emma Frost. Now, Emma is interesting. She is a 4 threat. However, she is the leader of the Hellfire Club. And as much as I'm not a fan of the Hellfire Club as an affiliation, we cannot deny that they are a very, very good, solid affiliation, because they can bring anyone. So all of a sudden, the worries around having 50x% included in our squad for, to meet the minimum affiliation requirements, well, actually they go away when we talk about Emma. So maybe that's something we think about, and make this a dual affiliation roster. So I think we are going to put Emma in there. And I think with who we have already, I actually think we can probably now start to look outside of the Brotherhood of Mutants. And let's take a look at, let's have a think about a couple of characters that we want. Well, let's think about the sort of brief, if you like. We want big hitting characters who are going to be impactful. We want them to either be able to work with Hellfire, or we want them to be able to work within Brotherhood of Mutants. So let's have a little think. Let's scroll down our list here, and there's one guy who I don't think we can ignore, and that's going to be Beta Ray Bill. And look, yes, he is an easy pick, but immune to bleed, incinerate, and poison. He's a 4/4/3. We've got the eyes on the prize play. He can throw characters around. He can reduce the damage he's taking. And as a new player coming into the game, you are going to be up against characters like Bill. And sometimes, if you can't beat them, join them. So let's put Bill in there as well. That's going to take us up to 9 characters in total. So let's have another little think and let's have a little playthrough. I think we've done okay with, in terms of our threat distribution. 3, 5, 4, 6, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So that's really nice. So I think we can go with anyone for our last option. So let's have a quick look and see who we think could do a really good job. Who's a really good big damage dealer? I mean, Cosmic Ghost Rider is still pretty good. I don't care what anyone says about him, but I do think we've got some potential better options in here. So guys, we are going to settle on Gwenham, a newer character. Obviously a different version of Gwen Stacy. She's another 4 threat, but she does have a long move. But the reason that I've picked her is going to be pick on someone your own size. After an attack targeting another allied character is resolved, this character may use this superpower. If the attacker is within 3 of this character may make an attack against it. So I think this could work really well, playing into that, wanting to get as many attacks off as possible, really, really attrition focused. So yeah, let's go with Gwenham. We're going to put her in there, and this may change, as it always may do. But that is going to be our roster. So now let's take a look at our tactics cards. Well, there is going to be one that we absolutely need in here, which is going to be My Hellfire Club. Well, we need that because we want to be able to play Hellfire Club. So that's quite important. Let's also take a look then at the characters that we're building around. So let's take a look at Rhino first of all. So this is a robbery. If it's Rhino's activation, he may spend 2 power to play this card. Choose an enemy character that is within range 1 that is holding an objective token. The chosen character drops any objective tokens it is holding. Rhino then throws the chosen character medium. I mean, this is pretty much stapled to Rhino. Let's take a look then at Juggernaut. And again, that's it. Do you know who I am? Juggernaut may spend 3 power to play this card. Choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character size 4 or less within 2 and throw it long. Now the difference with this versus Rhino's card is this can be used outside of his own activation. So that's going to work really, really nicely for us. So let's take that one there. And then unfortunately, if we look at Hulk, Hulk only has 1 card that he can use outside the Avengers, which is going to be Gamma Launch, which isn't going to be very good for us. So yeah, we're not going to be playing that one. Let's have a little think then about our cards. So we want Brotherhood of Mutants. So one of the things that's quite nice about Brotherhood is Asteroid M. It allows characters to get around the board very, very easily. So let's go with Asteroid M. Books of Truth isn't particularly good. There are definitely better out of affiliation cards. But let's then take a look at some of our other characters. Well, we did want to take, oh no, not characters there. We did say there's some good synergy between Toad and Blob in the form of Leapfrog. After an allied Toad deals damage with an attack, an allied, the Blob and Toad, may spend 1 power to play this card. Blob may advance and then make a strike. That's going to give us some additional attacks, and it's board wide as well, which is very, very nice. Let's have a look if Blob has any card. No, it is just that one. Let's have a look at Pyro, because this is going to be something that we definitely want to take. Pyro may spend X to play this card. For each power spent, choose an enemy character with the Incinerate special condition and within 3 of Pyro. Each chosen character drops 1 objective token it is holding and is pushed short away from Pyro. That's going to be really nice. That's going to give us a lot of board control and should end up being really good for us. Let's have a look at our restricted tactics cards. So let's go here. Let's put in restricted. Now, I'm going to say off the bat, with all of those big characters, we absolutely want to take Deception. Absolutely want to take Brace for Impact. That's going to be huge for us, stopping those big characters being able to be thrown into each other. But the next card is going to give us something that we need to think about quite a bit, because we've got a few good options in here. Advanced R&D, it's fine, but we don't really have a play for it. Disarm really plays into our attrition side of things. Indomitable is almost going to act as like a pseudo brace for impact, right? If we can't be picked up and thrown, then we can't do any damage with ourselves. So that could be really good. But then equally, a patch up, being able to, heal or recover Hulk for 25% of his stamina pool is definitely not to be sniffed at. And then we do have the deception problem. Is deception a card that we want to take with Mystique? That mental tax that it puts on your opponent can be really, really good. But I think, guys, I am going to just stay with our patch up option. Patch up's always going to be useful in a game. Indomitable may not be useful. Your opponent may not have any throws. Sacrifice again is probably always going to come up, but I do think that the patch up and Brace are really going to be the two that we're going to be able to use far more consistently than really any other cards that are in there. Okay, so let's then go back here. And a card that we absolutely want to take is going to be Eyes on the Prize. This is going to be predominantly for Bill, but there's other characters in this list that can use it as well. And then lastly, the last card I want to take is going to be Marked for Death. This is really going to help with the attrition side of things. Loses stealth. Characters lose stealth and they can't reroll their defense dice. So this is going to make it that much easier on being able to take some characters off the board. So there we go. There are our 10 tactics cards. Now let's have a little think about our secures. And I think we absolutely want to be taking setups that are down the middle of the board and play into that attrition game. So first of all, guys, Demons Downtown. We're going to have characters in here that are immune to Incinerate, which is really nice. And also Gamma Wave. They're both down the middle, and they both allow us to really have a huge, big hitting game, and keep that fight nice and enclosed, and really play to the strengths of the roster that we are building. For the final one, then, we do have a couple of options. We've got big base characters. So Cosmic Invasion can be really, really nice. It's 4 points that's on the board, which is a little high for the attrition-based game, but getting an extra 2 power onto something like a Hulk turn 1 can be really nice. And these guys are going to have a lot of things they want to spend power on. So that's definitely something that could work for us. Intrusions is another one. That's going to let us get around the board very, very quickly. However, you do drop your objective tokens that you are holding. And with the likelihood being that we're going to have fewer characters on the board, I'm not sure how good this is going to be for us. Let's have a little think. Mayor Fisk, we don't really want to be dealing with stun. because again, we want plenty of power to be able to do all of the things that we want to do. So I think actually, guys, and it has been an old favourite of mine, we are going to go with Cosmic Invasion. And yes, it is a D map, and we are going to be a little bit more spread out. So the likelihood is we are going to go behind on VPs during the first turn. But I do think getting that extra power onto our characters and allowing them to do things could be really, really useful. So guys, we are going to go with Cosmic Invasion. I do genuinely believe in this list we do have enough displacement, and the extra power is really going to help. Whereas our opponents are potentially going to have to use one of their actions to get back onto the point. We have a lot of out of action movement, meaning, you know, the place on Hulk, the stampede on Rhino, similar thing on Juggernaut, so we can get back into position much easier. So yeah, we are going to be taking Cosmic Invasion. I think it could work quite well for us. Let's have a look at these extracts. Now obviously he's already told us, Zac's already told us he wants to have a fight. If you want to have a fight, you're going to take Fear Grips. Why on earth would you not? But we do want to keep the scoring a little bit lower on this one. So whilst Paranoia and things like that can be really good, I actually am going to go for Montesi, because I think that can work quite well for us. And guys, we're going to take Research Station. Research Station can work really, really well for us. We've got lots of throws, lots of displacement, and I think, yeah, it's going to work really, really nicely for us. I do want to go back in to here, and I am going to make a slight change based on what we've picked. We are going to get rid of Gwenham, and we are going to go in for one of my favourites, which is going to be Crimson Dynamo. Crimson Dynamo just does a huge amount. Not only is he dishing out shock from his electric blast, again, he's another character that's got that ability to get himself back onto a point, but Disruption Field, re-rolling 2 of your opponent's dice when they attack is so good. So let's put that in there. And then I think, guys, we are pretty much there. So let's take this, let's put it into TTS, and we'll take a look and see what it's looking like. Okay guys, so this is our final roster. We've got the 3 big hitters that Zac wanted to play with. So we've got Hulk, Juggernaut and Rhino. We've then got our 2 leaders, Emma Frost with the Hellfire Club, and then we've got Mystique from the Brotherhood. We've also brought a few Brotherhood characters with us as well. We've got Pyro, the Blob and Toad, but all characters I think, or at least 2 of them I think, that can do a job with Emma Frost as well. And then rounding it out, we've got Beta Ray Bill, because look, he's just so good. And then Crimson Dynamo, because again, really good, solid 4-threat option. We've got Cosmic Invasion at 16 threat, Demons Downtown at 19, and then Gamma Wave at 15. Fear Grips, Research Station and Montesi, so really playing into that attrition based list. We've then got Asteroid M to give us that extra movement for Brotherhood. We've got Brace for Impact, Do You Know Who I Am, Eyes on the Prize, Leapfrog, Marked for Death, My Hellfire Club, Patch Up, Pyrotechnics, and This Is a Robbery. So a pretty solid list, I think. We're going to have lots of options in here at various threat levels. If I just zoom out ever so slightly so we can see the threat level at the top there. So let's say we wanted to go with a Brotherhood list, so we'd have a core there, probably of Mystique, Juggernaut and Toad. That's going to give us 10. If we are lucky enough to be playing at 20 threat, then guess what, guys? We can use all 3 characters in there that Zac wants to use. But even if we're not at 16 threat, we can play with Hulk, we can then bump that up. We've got a 19 threat option, or we can mix and match things around as well. So we've also got, what can we do here? We can go 17 threat with Pyro and Bill, which is not too bad at all. And then if we take a look at the Hellfire list, this gives us a lot more flexibility. You know, we can have Hulk in there and give us a core of 10. We can bring in Bill and then maybe a Blob at 17 or a Rhino to put us up to 18. We can even bring Crimson Dynamo in there if we wanted, or indeed we can then bring in the Juggernaut and it's going to give us 19 threat. So lots of different options. Some nice opening plays with Bill and eyes on the prize. And yeah, overall, guys, I think a roster that could do some really, really good work after a few games and getting some practice in with. I do also think that there is somewhere in here where we could fit in that Daredevil Defenders list. So if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing, let me know down in the comment section below. And I'll be sure to do a similar video, but centered around Daredevil and these three characters that Zac wanted to play. A quick reminder to everyone, guys, we are now just under 2 weeks away from the first GT in the UK for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and indeed Shatterpoint on the same weekend. There'll be a link down in the description below. So you've really only got a few more days now to get your tickets before everything is locked in. So make sure you head on over and check that out. It should be a really, really good weekend. It's going to be a 2-day event. We're going to be playing 6 rounds of MCP. And yeah, really, really looking forward to it. I just want to give a big shout out to all of our Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really, really does help. And you can be a Patreon member. You can help support the channel. Again, there'll be a link down in the description below, or you can become a YouTube member, but you don't need to do either of those things. Just simply commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing, sharing, all the usual things really, really does go a long way to help the channel. So thank you so much for that. And also let me know down in the comment section below, guys, what do you think of the list? If you've got any recommendations you can make for Zac, any little tidbits that you can put in there to help him hone that roster, leave us comments down in the comment section below. I do try and read every single one of them. Guys, we're going to leave it for there. Thank you so much for joining us for another video, and as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.